Howdy gamers. By the end of this video, I hope that I could give you some better insight into not only just what to run on Talon, but more so why to run the certain runes and what runes give the champion's kit more value. What Talon's looking for in runes is really just amplification to his damage, and that's best achieved through Electrocute. You have a couple other options in, let's say, Dark Harvest or Conquer, but those are pretty unique, and I don't think that Dark Harvest is really that good. The benefits of Electrocute is that it gives you more laning power as the burst offers more of a damage threat, and if you're not a damage threat, then you can just get out bullied by almost every single mid lane champion in the game. So having that damage threat is pretty necessary early, and then after your first couple resets, once you're level 6 into level 9, you have the ability to actually start killing champions, especially whenever you go for roams, and Electrocute is going to help you do that, as Electrocute gives you extra damage whenever you hit the enemy with 3 separate attacks, and every time you roam, you're going to be dumping every single ability on them. So you're going to be dealing more damage with the roams, and by the time you get back to lane and then take 1 or 2 waves, Electrocute's going to be back up, so then you can choose to fight your lane again or not. That's really the huge benefit of it. With Electrocute as well, it puts you in the Domination tree. Domination is going to give you more damage through sudden impact. It's going to give you more damage through eyeball collection, giving you bonus attack damage through getting kills and assist, and then it's going to give you more ult cooldown reduction through Ultimate Hunter. So there's a lot of value in Domination Tree. And that's really what a lot of what Talon's looking for in his runes is more damage. If you were to trade that off for, let's say, a utility choice like Phase Rush, right? It wouldn't be terrible on Talon. But with Phase Rush, after you hit an enemy champion with 3 separate attacks or abilities, you gain bonus movement speed. So this would give you potentially like some defensive utility in which if the enemy gets onto you, you could use your auto QW and then run away from them. If they try to chase you, you're going to have more movement speed and you're going to have the slow coming back from the W. It would also give you the utility to chase down a target, but if you don't have the damage threat in lane, you can have all the movement speed you want. Whenever you're on top of the enemy champion, they're just going to be retaliating more damage. And if you're running away from them, it's also kind of a loss because you're just not, again, you're not trading any meaningful damage onto them. And then going into something like the Sorcery Tree just offers you pretty low value runes in general. So I really do think that the only meaningful uses for Talon's runes is going to be through damage. Like I mentioned, you can get damage through Conquer, but it's a pretty unique case, and I'll come back to that. So the only keystone that I'm going to be recommending for Talon's runes is going to be Electrocute. Something like Dark Harvest would take too long to scale and has the same problem that I mentioned before, where if you don't have this damage early, you don't have a lane, you just lose too much laning power, and then you also just lose out on damage against a single target, and that's all really Talon's looking to do. Through killing single targets and having more damage to do so, it's going to make less fights that just aren't in your favor potentially still be a win, as you can still kill a target from the damage offered from Electrocute, and then through doing so you're getting a gold lead, and then that's really how you generate a win on Talon, is through having a gold lead over the enemy and then therefore just having too much damage for them to deal with. Something like Dark Harvest is where you take a loss early and then you have this scaling damage. Think about champions like Karthus. They use it a lot better. But with a champion like Talon and most assassin champions in general, having this stacking component isn't as valuable as having the immediate damage, as you're better off having the immediate damage to actually kill targets in the early to mid game so that you can have an item lead going into the mid to late game. So with Electrocute, hitting an enemy champion with 3 separate attacks or abilities deals bonus adaptive damage. This adaptive damage is based on your level, and then also for Talon, your bonus AD. So that's going to stack up pretty quickly, as in the mid lane, you're going to be getting probably the most levels in the game. And with 0.4 on your bonus AD, that's also pretty good, as that's basically all you're building. You're building AD with lethality items, but the lethality items offer you enough AD as it is. And again, where Electrocute is only on about a 20-ish second cooldown, it's going to be up at most meaningful points. You can take a small trade against your lane opponent with, like, let's say a W Q auto, and then you're going to proc Electrocute. You can even W Q, and then the second part of your W can be proccing Electrocute. And then with that, you deal more burst damage to them, and then you can back off. That burst damage added from Electrocute is really going to stick to the enemy, as you just have to wait 2 or 3 waves, and then your Electrocute's going to be back up, and then that's when you can look to all in. Even if they have like a corrupting potion or something, the damage dealt is still going to be pretty significant, as if you just don't have that, then if they had Corrupting Potion and you don't have Electrocute, then they just Corrupting Potion and then they've healed back to full versus healing back to like 90 or 80% HP. And all of that HP lost is really important for Talon, as he can kill champions from 100 to 0, and if they're any lower than that, the odds are just more in your favor, and you have access to more lethals that you otherwise wouldn't have. With Domination, or with Electrocute, again, it puts you in the Domination tree, and for the second rune here, you have good options in Taste of Blood or Sudden Impact. The damage from Sudden Impact is really good, but in some matchups, it's not required. Let's say if you're playing into a Control Mage matchup, champions like Orianna, maybe a Syndra, champions that can choose to push the wave into you, and then you're really trying to survive them early. Taste of Blood has a lot of utility because you're going to be offsetting a lot of the damage that they deal to you. With Taste of Blood, you heal whenever you damage an enemy champion. This heal is based on your level and then a little bit of your bonus AD, but the important part is that it's on a 20-second cooldown, so pretty similar to Electrocute. You have this 20-second cooldown where you can trade against the enemy and then back off and then do it again. So both of these in combination give you a lot of laning power against those champions, as you're mostly trying to survive them early and then spike on them after like your first recall where you have a Serrated Dirk and then you're level 6 and whatnot. So into those ranged matchups, again, where they have poke abilities such as Orianna's Q, even like long range auto attacks, Cinder Q, etc. Taste of Blood's going to help you offset a lot of that damage, and then also be able to take better trades against them, especially in long laning phase, because if those champions choose to push the wave into you, then you kind of have to deal with it, and Taste of Blood helps you do that too. It helps like lessen the loss of the laning phase a bit better, and then also gives you chances to put them in worse lane states because of the damage that's offered from Electrocute and then the healing that's offered from Taste of Blood. It's also pretty easy to proc with your W. With Sudden Impact, it's going to be what you want to run into most matchups, as it just gives you access to more damage, pretty similar to Electrocute. With Sudden Impact, after you exit Stealth, use a dash, leap, blink, or teleport. So anytime you use your E, your ult, your flash, your Q, you have so many ways to proc Sudden Impact. And then whenever you deal damage to a champion, it grants you 7 lethality and 6 magic penetration for 5 seconds, and then it's only on a 4-second cooldown. So let's say you jump over a wall into bot lane or top lane, and then you Q onto the enemy, you now have 7 extra lethality for 5 seconds. Talon's whole burst happens in about 2.5 seconds, so you have more than enough time to get the value out of lethality through the full rotation of your abilities, and then also on a couple auto attacks. Where it's on a 4-second cooldown, by the time that your W and Q is back up, Sudden Impact is also going to be back up, so there's effectively no downtime on Sudden Impact. You have it for your initial burst, and then you have it for the second rotation of your abilities. It's really well used by Talon and really hard to outweigh. So if you have to give it up for Taste of Blood in like some losing matchups, it does feel bad, but offsetting the like economy and the lane state of those particular champions can be worth. But in basically every single matchup, you want to be running Sudden Impact because of the damage that's offered. For the third rune here, you have good options in Zombie Ward or Eyeball Collection. With Talon, Zombie Ward loses a bit of value because you can hop over walls, so you have this way to avoid wards anyways. Even if you're building Umbral Glaive, I think Eyeball Collection is going to be better suited for Talon. With these runes, you're choosing how you build up the bonus attack damage offered from them. With Eyeball Collection, you're getting the bonus attack damage from kills and assist, and then with Zombie Ward, you're getting it through clearing wards. So with any assassin champion, the AD assassins, you have the itemization option to go into Umbral Glaive, and then Zombie Ward gains a lot of value. But like I said, Talon can avoid the wards. So I think Eyeball Collection is going to be easier to use for newer players, and it's also going to be generally more useful for Talon, as you're better off getting that bonus attack damage from getting kills and assists, as it's faster to stack up versus something like Zombie Ward, because whenever you're roaming, you can avoid the wards anyways. But in maybe some matchups, or if you're at a higher MMR, you would definitely get more value out of Zombie Ward most of the time. But you know, when they're not even warding, what are you gonna sweep, man? With Ultimate Hunter, I think it's your best choice in the 4th row tier. With Relentless Hunter, it gives you out of combat movement speed. Again, I don't think Talon needs this because he has his E to just jump over walls, so you're gonna have enough mobility with Boots of Mobility, or even Boots of Speed and then your E. So I don't think the out of combat movement speed really helps Talon as much as it would, say, a champion like Kiana. With Ultimate Hunter, it makes it so that you have 5% reduced cooldown on your ult and then 4% per Bounty Hunter stack. A Bounty Hunter stack is a takedown on a unique champion, and Talon can stack this up pretty quickly as he has the ability to roam and he has the ability to actually kill a single target. So it's really, really easy for any assassin champion in the game to build up the Bounty Hunter stacks. And in Talon's case, having access to his ult more often means that he can just basically one-shot a target more often. So really, really effective rune on him, and it's pretty easy for him to stack it up. For the secondary runes, you have interesting options. You could go Precision Second with like Triumph and Coup de Grace, giving you more survivability on an all-in and then a bit more damage. You could also go Sorcery Second with something more aggressive like Absolute Focus and then Scorch, as you get enough levels for Absolute Focus to be meaningful, and then it also makes sense with your kit, and then Scorch giving you a bit more laning power, giving you more damage every time you land your W. So I think this is more of a noob stompy type of setup, but I don't think it's bad on Talon, as if you're playing Talon, you're basically conceding the fact that you're playing against noobs anyways. And then for the Inspiration Tree Second, you don't really have good options here. It would really be like this economic battle for Talon, which he's not really trying to play. So something like Free Boots and Minion Dematerializer, or even like Free Boots and Cosmic Insight. He just doesn't make good enough value out of this. Even if you were to run like the CDR shard with Cosmic Insight, the cooldown that you get on the W and the Q just isn't as meaningful as like other champions. Because getting your second rotation of abilities off just isn't as important because you kill in one rotation anyways, and that's really what you should be looking to amplify. So against lanes with no sustain, and especially against melee lanes where you're more guaranteed to land your W, I think Absolute Focus and Scorch is going to be better off. With Absolute Focus, while you're above 70% HP, you gain bonus attack damage based on your level. And then with this, again, since you're in the mid lane, you're going to be getting levels, or the most levels in the game. And then as an assassin, most of the time you're going to be above 70% HP, especially whenever you're attacking a target. You're not really spending your HP to get on top of them. You're spending your HP once you're on top of them, but not before you get on top of them. So basically before you deal your damage. So Absolute Focus actually works out on Talon, unlike most champions in the game where it just doesn't. So you get access to more attack damage for free just based on your level. That works hand in hand with your lethality, and then also with sudden impact, electrocute, etc. So you have attack damage scaling with Absolute Focus and Eyeball Collection, and then that goes hand in hand with, like I said, the lethality, electrocute, and sudden impact. With Scorch, it offers you basically just more laning damage. Your next damaging ability that hits the enemy champion deals bonus magic damage, and then it's on a 10-second cooldown. So effectively every single time your W is off cooldown, even if you just land the first part of it on the enemy champion, you're going to be dealing more damage every single time you do that. So you land 3 Ws, even just the first part of it, and you could probably just all in your lane opponent. So Scorch just helps build up more damage. It also gives you a different damage value where it's dealing magic damage and not just physical. So if you're against a lane with no sustain, if it's a melee lane, then I think this is going to be your best setup. Against a ranged champion, I think that Coup de Grace and Triumph is going to be a bit better, as it's not so much about poking them. It's more about having higher burst, as ranged champions are probably going to be bringing a barrier or exhaust, and Coup de Grace is going to help you get through that a bit. With Coup de Grace, you deal 8% more damage to champions who have less than 40% health, so that's going to give you more damage on probably the second part of your Q, maybe a bit of your bleed, and then probably your ult damage, as you do have to get them to below 40% health to get the bonus from Coup de Grace, but Talon can do that pretty quickly. And then with Triumph, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. Against a lot of ranged champions mid lane, you're going to be spending your health, like I said, once you're on top of them, as they're going to retaliate every single one of their abilities once you're on top of them. And then with Triumph, if you're killing them, then it helps you survive everything that they've thrown at you afterwards. So I don't think you really have to adjust these depending on the side lane matchups, as those are important for Talon, but the damage values offered are about the same. It's more so about the champions that you're playing into in the mid lane versus the champions in the side lane. As let's say if you were ganking a top lane Quinn versus a top lane Ornn, both of these secondary runes are going to be doing about the same thing. You get the bonus attack damage from Absolute Focus versus the 8% increased damage with Coup de Grace. Obviously, Coup de Grace would be dealing more damage to Ornn, but then Absolute Focus would probably be dealing more damage to Quinn. So maybe think a little bit about the side lane matchups, but it's mostly just about your mid lane matchup when it comes to the secondary runes. And if you're looking for a default, I would recommend Absolute Focus and Scorch as Triumph and Coup de Grace. Like, Coup de Grace is going to overkill a lot of champions anyways, as Talon has that much damage in his kit, so it's not really required versus the laning power you get in these. And if you're compensating Talon's laning power, it goes a lot further than like amplifying his all-in, as surviving the early game becomes more beneficial to him than killing targets harder that he would have killed anyways in the mid to late game. For the shards, I think it's always going to be adapt to force, and then depending on your lane matchup, you obviously want to switch the resistance. If you're playing into an AD matchup, obviously you want the armor, and then an AP matchup, you obviously want the magic resist. I don't think, again, that you need the CDR shard, as the attack damage goes so far for Talon. So these are the default runes I'd recommend for Talon. And again, they offer him burst, they offer him laning power, and then through that, just gives him more tools to snowball the game, and then also gives him rewards for snowballing the game, as you get more damage per level with Electrocute, you get more damage per level with Sudden Impact as the lethality scales per level, you get more attack damage every kill and assist you get with Eyeball Collection, you get more ultimate cooldown reduction with every kill and assist through Ultimate Hunter, and then you get more attack damage per level with Absolute Focus. So it's a lot of extra damage and a lot of reward for getting levels and kills and assist. So really beneficial page for him. The other page that is an option for Talon would be Conquer, putting you in the precision tree. So then your best bet is going to be like Triumph. I suppose Legend Tenacity, as even with like attack speed, it's not going to be that meaningful. And then either Coup de Grace or Last Stand, probably Coup de Grace still. And then with something like Bone Plating and Overgrowth secondary. And then probably the same resistances. You could run a page like this into Bruiser champions, which you would very rarely play into in the mid lane. Think about champions like tankier champions like Irelia, Ornn, Darius, really weird champions to be played in the mid lane, but that could be played. So champions that you're not going to kill in one rotation, Conquer gains a bit of value as you gain this stacking aspect. With Conquer, your basic attacks and spells that deal damage to an enemy champion grant you 2 stacks, giving you bonus adaptive force based on your level, and then stacking up to 10 times. Once it's fully stacked, you heal for 15% of the damage that you deal. So it gives you more survivability, and then it also gives you more damage on the second rotation of your abilities. So again, against champions that you're not killing in one rotation, Conquer gains more value, but Talon has to survive as well for this to be meaningful. With Triumph, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. Kind of the same concept where you're spending your HP early and then trying to survive. Legend Tenacity just helps you withstand any CC they would have. Since you're playing against a tankier target, they're probably bringing some CC, whether it be Irelia stun, Ornn knock up, Ornn stun, whatever. Most tanky champions are going to be bringing some CC, and the benefit of attack speed or lifesteal on Talon is just so negligible that it's not even worth running. Same thing with Presence of Mind. You're not going to run out of mana on this champion, so that would lose a lot of value too. And the fourth road here in Precision, you have the option of Coup de Grace or Last Stand. I think Coup de Grace should be your go-to, as even if you're spending your HP early, it's really important to finish the target off with the second rotation of your W and Q. And Coup de Grace is going to help you do that. With Last Stand, you deal 5 to 11% increased damage while you're below 60% health. Even though you could get value out of this, especially in the matchups that you'd be wanting to run Conquer in, I still think that Coup de Grace's damage would probably be outweighing it in most cases. Last Stand isn't bad though. I'm not entirely sure on which ones, but if you're playing it into a Bruiser, I think Coup de Grace is going to be better. If you're playing it into a tank, then Last Stand is going to be better. Think about champions like Mordekaiser and whatnot. They are going to get you low enough to where Last Stand is going to be just giving you more damage. But against Bruisers, Coup de Grace is going to be better. And then for the secondary runes, you could run like Sudden Impact and Ultimate Hunter, but that loses its validity as the lethality becomes less impactful against Bruisers as they have more armor early. Or if you're playing into a tank, it's even worse because the lethality they don't care about it. It's more about getting more survivability for yourself, so that you can get the second rotations of your abilities off, and that's going to give you more damage than the runes could themselves. So with Bone Plating, it's going to be giving you more effective HP against melee champions. With bone plating, after you take damage from an enemy champion, the next 3 spells or attacks you receive from them deal 30 to 60 based on your level less, and then it's on a 45-second cooldown. So every time an enemy would jump onto you, really think about champions like Irelia, you just have more effective HP to play with. And with that, it helps you build up Conquer. It helps you get your first rotation of your abilities off. And the faster you do that, the faster you get the second rotations off. And then that's just the faster you kill the enemy champion that has dove onto you. And then if you're diving onto them, it's the same thing. Whenever they retaliate, they have to get through bone plating before they can even damage you. So it becomes this really, really oppressive tool. And then with bone plating, it puts you in the resolve tree. And then it's the same question, like how do you get more HP here? And it's only through Overgrowth. With Overgrowth, you absorb life essence from monsters or enemy minions that die near you, permanently gaining 3 maximum health for every 8. Whenever you've absorbed 120 monsters or enemy minions, you gain an additional 3.5% maximum health. If you're building something like Black Cleaver with this build too, it's going to work out really well. You're going to get bonus HP from Overgrowth. That is going to give you more bonus HP the more HP that you have. And then the more HP you have, the longer basically you have to survive to get the second rotation of your WQ off. And then if you're shredding their armor with Black Cleaver, you're dealing more with the AD offered from Conqueror, etc. So if you're playing into those matchups, bruiser matchups, tank matchups for some reason in the mid lane, then Conqueror is okay and is not so bad on Talon. But it does change the playstyle a lot. And it's not the most ideal thing for him, but it is an option for him to run. So figured I'd mention it. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about Talon runes. His most valuable runes being Coup de Grace, Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Absolute Focus. Everything else is kind of whatever on him. Like I said, he doesn't need like this extra poke damage you could get from Arcane Comet or Aerie. It's not going to build up. He doesn't need scaling from like Gathering Storm, as by the time he would get there, he needs to be winning anyways. He doesn't need this economy things from Inspiration and either Free Boots and like Biscuits or like Free Boots Minion Dematerializer. He's going to push the wave with Tiamat, not with Minion Dematerializer. And that's about it. So yeah, if this video helped you, leave a like on the video, helps me. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If I forgot to mention something that I said I'd mention in the video, let me know. Also consider subscribing. It's just League of Legends content on this channel. It's none of that bullshit. So twitch.tv/sorrynelson, links in the description. Check me out. I play League of Legends. Honestly, I should just stream on YouTube though, you know? Why not? Twitch?